Persona 3 Reload is a game I've heavily been waiting for ever since I completed its original predecessor, Persona 3 FES. And over the course of the months that Atlus had been releasing their trailers, I found myself to be quite on top of them. Whether I was eyeing for new OST in the background, tidbits and story depth through each trailer, I found myself enamored by what they were bringing to the table. So, when Atlus officially showcased the opening to Persona 3 Reload, Full Moon Full Night, I made sure to let my buddy know and we saw it together live. This opening burned our dread. The visuals, the song itself, and the fact that FMC fans were guaranteed hurt by it, we were sure that it was one of the best in the series. So much so, after we reacted to it, I pretty much had it on loop for days on end, further solidifying this thought even more than I could ever imagine. So when Atlus announced a radio show music night hosted by one of the main vocalists, Lotus Juice, of course I knew I would be there. And when the time finally came at January 6th at 4 a.m., I found myself idly interacting in the chat filled with excitement. I was talking about Full Moon Full Night and how I had it on loop because of how good it was. Everything was well. Until a user came back saying that the opening was fine and all, but it was one of the worst in the entire series. What? The further that conversation went, it was said that Burn My Dread still stands as the best opening for Persona 3. And for some reason, that message alone was the straw that broke Orpheus's back and is entirely the reason why this video exists. Now that the introduction is over, allow me to explain why this made me so distraught, and we'll start off with the first statement. Full Moon Full Life is one of the worst opening in the series. Reading a bold statement such as this had the feeling of immense authority behind it, almost as if it was fact and not through opinion. To me personally, it came off as the opening that I thought was one of the best was not because of a glaring issue that completely flew under my radar. I don't know if there were like nuclear launch codes in it, if they showed something illegal. I don't know how this opening could be called one of the worst in the series. The visuals were top notch and honestly stands on the same pedestal of the initial reactions of Wake Up, Get Out There from Persona 5. Which, by the way, was insanely well received. I tend to look at people's arguments as if they all come from analytical reasoning, but with the futility of a full explanation through a 200 character limit and other conversations in between, there's no other way for me to know truly, unless it happens to be from the next statement that followed with it. Burn My Dread still stands as the best opening for Persona 3. That's right, nostalgia. Things just ain't like what they used to be no more. Or something like that. Nostalgia can be a positive thing. It's feelings that we hold on to and cherish because it's part of the memories that made a lasting effect in our lives. Everyone's is personalized through their own childhood and growth, and it's one of the things that can help someone keep pushing forward when their back's to the wall. However, nostalgia is a double-edged sword. When you've experienced something a specific way, heard, played, whatever a specific way, those memories can position themselves on a pedestal that can never be toppled. New renditions are effortlessly casted underneath it under the simple value of, it just ain't how like I had it before. Me personally, I say screw all that. When it comes to Persona 3 Reload, I've seen many upon many reasonings for why it won't live up to expectations due to players' memories with their first. And it's all through the cracked eyeglass of nostalgia. What if the new additions to P3R makes the difficulty lower than the original? I actively hated the original Persona 3 for its painstakingly crude gameplay. You were always at a disadvantage no matter the circumstances. For example, you couldn't control your party members, enemy weaknesses were invalidated very early on, you could miss and lose an entire turn by chance, grinding was a necessity, sickness slowed grinding and progression overall, all the while stomping on your time by making you load the last save, which was 2 hours ago, if you felt just a little more confident than usual to challenge the next floor of Tartarus. This isn't just my experience either. Ask anyone who's played the game. Tartarus was described as grindy and monotonous, but even so, people hold dear memories with it wholly due to nostalgia. And probably Stockholm Syndrome. If the remake of the game replicated all of that frustration that was held in the original, I genuinely would not be willing to go through that hell again. The answer is not going to be included into P3R, so I'm not going to play it. The answer, recognized as one of the most hated epilogues due to its extreme grindy nature, is not included within Persona 3 Reload. Okay, but the original story that we know and love is still included. Persona 3 Reload was not meant to be a definitive version for FES. It was meant as a definitive version for the original Persona 3. There are also other arguments you can make, like, why would Atlus make a definitive version for the game on a completely new engine they're not familiar with? Just because they don't have it now doesn't mean they can't pull a Persona 4 Golden or Persona 5 Royal. They'll probably just call it, like, Persona 3 Reload Dead. Katone/Femc from Persona 3 Portable is not going to be included, so I'll have to pass. Both protagonists literally have the same story, and as far as I know, the only difference is the OST and social links. I do not believe this to be a reasonable way to shut down everything else this game has to offer. This is one of the ones I quickly wanted to gloss over because it doesn't require more explanation than that. Persona 3 looks too much like Persona 5. While this isn't directly saying that the people that drew this comparison won't play it, it's still bothering to read this when the literal peak of Persona visuals were with Persona 5. Like, what do you expect from the people that created the hit JRPG that swept nations, meme culture, and technically BGM for many creators across the YouTube platform? Did you expect to still count each rigid polygon on every character model like in previous times? I think this argument just thrives off the hate for Persona 5 and is nothing more than just ingenuine critique. Persona 3 Reload's versions of the original songs can't compare to the original. I don't think I'll play it. That's the one that breaks me. Persona 3 has one of the most impactful soundtracks through both instrumentals and vocal mixes. As I mentioned before, they're also iconic. You will actively hear music from the game as background music of other videos on YouTube. However, in my personal experience, I've always felt a nagging feeling not to use it due to its overuse. And especially since I went through that 4-month hell of trying to complete the game, my ears are severely tired of hearing the same soul-draining tone of Tartarus and repetitiveness of mass destruction. And trust me, I love their soundtrack. It's amazing. I literally bought it on vinyl with no vinyl player. But to put it simply, my ears are tired. And that's just my opinion. Being able to hear the soundtrack sung by a new artist with different enunciations, lyrics, both original songs and new, is genuinely one of the best things I could have asked for Reload. Yumi Kawamura had served an outstanding role in selling the rockish mood throughout the entirety of the Dark Hour, alongside smoother ones that comforted you through your daily school roundabouts. But on a more serious note, there's still more to it than just that. Kawamura songs takes a lot of vocal strength and endurance, not only in the studio, but also in live performances. To put it bluntly, her health is declining, and with her last performance of Memories of You, the most taxing song of them all, it was an extremely hard pill to swallow. Audibly hearing and seeing that she doesn't have the capacity to sing through the song that rolls the credits was a real feeling. And because of this, it's more than likely why she won't be able to breathe the intended new life into Reload's soundtrack. With the new artist, Azumi Takahashi, it allows for there to be a new iteration of the soundtrack, once again with both old and new. I understand what feeling upset with Kawamura's retirement, as I've been in that mindset too, self-admittedly. But after hearing more of the new OST and really giving the artist a shot, I genuinely believe that this was the right choice to breathe new life into Persona 3 in general. The songs like Color Your Night, Mass Destruction, It's Going Down Now, Changing Seasons, and even more to come leaves me with an unending feeling of excitement, and I'm looking forward to playing it firsthand to experience it in its full implementation. In reality, I might just be screaming into the void. All of this is just an emotional outburst of all the collective feelings I contained before this game's release. But to me personally, I believe that there's also a lesson to be had through this. And through some afterthoughts, I think I know what I'm trying to say here. It's okay to hold on to the nostalgia, the memories that we hold deeply of the experiences we had, and it's okay to be concerned if the newer rendition doesn't replicate what you initially experienced. But you shouldn't let nostalgia steer the wheel away to miss a whole new take on what the original game had to offer. Persona 3 Reload was never meant to overwrite those memories nor invalidate them, but to refine the experience so not only you can play Persona 3 for the first time again, but also to share its impactful story and meaningful messages to a newer generation of gamers. So, after watching all of this, why not just burn your dread and give Persona 3 Reload a shot? A revolver only has 6 bullets, and last time I checked, Persona 3 doesn't miss. Except they kinda did because they changed the revolver-themed battle menu into this. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. This honestly wasn't the way that I'd imagined talking about Persona for the first time, at least officially, but I don't exactly plan for a lot in general. This video was made in accordance with the helping push of a video my friend Goruto produced, Will Persona 3 Reload Meet Expectations? If you're very big on freeform thoughts and just want to see a chill analysis of the things I brought up and haven't in this video, I would highly suggest giving it a watch. The link to his channel and video is in the description below. Anyways, that's gonna be all for me. You are now leaving Psyker's world. See you on your next visit.